Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk of the Town. This is a live broadcast tonight, March 18th, Wednesday, but this will be repeated over and over again, and it'll be on YouTube. I'm so happy tonight to have a dear friend of mine. We've been friends for a long time, gone through a lot, seen a lot of change within the town. Please welcome Wrestling Brewster.
Thank you, Karen. It's great to be here. It's been a while.
It's my honor.
Wow.
Yeah, and I know you have a lot to say, wrestling, and I agree with you. So let's get started.
Okay.
How would you like to start?
Well, I think we need to start talking about the bear in the room, our budget. You know, and it's we've used up all the tax levy. And we're on the cusp of a 2.5% override. First, I think that people need to realize that tax levy is taxes. 2.5% override means more taxes.
I want to stop you because people hear 2.5 and they think it's a small sum. Isn't our budget $360 million?
It's $344 for 27.
Okay, $344.
Yep.
So it can place 6 and above hundred on the tax bill you all have now. It can do that.
Oh, yeah.
Overriding.
Well, all it does is so we have a tax levy, which means that we could have taxed the public X amount. We didn't. So say, for example, we could have raised the taxes 10%. And we only raised it 5%. So we have a 5% tax levy that we can use. So we used up that tax levy in the last budget, which means that we can't raise the taxes unless we have a 2.5% override, which means we can raise it over the 2.5%.
Again and again.
Again and again and again. So with all of that, it's important that our public realizes what all this means, because we can talk about levies and we can talk about the 2.5% and we can talk about a $344 million budget, but I think that's important that the public realizes it's taxes. It's whatever we talk about is taxes. And every year at town meeting, I ask Lynn Barrett, the finance director, what's the total budget and how is it going to affect the average taxpayer? How much is it going up for the average taxpayer? Last year it was $450 per average taxpayer in your tax rate. So we have the public saying, wow, that's a lot of money. You keep taxing us. I can't afford these taxes. We have people who have lived in Plymouth their entire life saying, I cannot afford to live here.
Yeah.
So what do we do? What do we do, Karen? And I'm continually asking select board members, town staff, the town manager, what do we do?
Well, explain what the town manager did. He went to the select board.
Well, the select board asked him to do a 1% cut budget. What would that look like? So he presented that to the select board. Certain select board members wanted it to, instead of this is the dollar amount, this is, the total dollar amount, they wanted to go company by company, not company, but
line by line.
Line by line, which department head would be losing what. So I think everybody has a budget. They have their home budget. So when my wife comes to me and says, hey, I'm not getting $10,000 this year because I lost a contract or I lost, part of my business. So what I do is I don't go and say, well, then I guess we can't eat for 3 days, and I guess we can't,
balance
have clothes.
Our checkbook.
What I do say is, okay, we're going to have to tighten our belt. the town of Plymouth needs to tighten their belt. And I'm tired of hearing, well, if you cut the budget, you will lose services, because that's a scare tactic. The town manager came and said, this is my 1% budget. So the police said, well, we're going to lose 5 policemen. The fire department said, oh, we're not going to be able to get to this many fires. And the DPW said, well, the roads are going to get worse, and all of these things that are scare tactics. If we were to say, you are cutting at 1%, not what would you cut to make that 1%. If you say to anybody who has a budget, we are cutting at 1%, services would survive. Teachers would survive. Policemen would survive. They would look at things. They would look at things like the Dr. Campbell. Dr. Campbell has 2 vice principals, or vice superintendents, 2 vice superintendents. All 3 of them have administrative staff.
Oh, it's administrative all the way with the school.
And when we start talking about things like that, people get scared. You're talking about jobs. You're talking about people. You're talking about benefits. And I hate to use the word, but the unions get up in force and say, no way, no how. Well, we're at a point in the town of Plymouth where we're going to have to do something. It's not going to be an option. It's not going to be an option to start cutting these things. We have to cut these things. So if we don't start tightening our budget, prime example is there was a move a while ago to see what combined forces we could have with the school and the town. The school is awesome at building maintenance. The town is terrible at building maintenance. I would love to see what we could do with that.
Why don't they do it? Because it's been suggested over and over again. You've suggested it.
Yep.
And it seems that our side is willing.
Well, it's unions and it's the scare tactics of, if we combine things, people will lose their jobs. And if we combine things, then we will lose services.
But you still need the manpower, wrestling.
Right.
I don't see losing manpower.
I don't
combining.
Either. I don't either. But it's scare tactics. It's prime example is we have 2 HR departments. We have the school HR department and the town HR department. Both of those entities give the same benefits. They manage the same benefits. If you were to combine those HRs into one HR,
you would still need 2 people because one is handling one side, the other's handling the other, aren't they?
No.
And comparing?
No.
No?
No, because you have an HR, they have the same benefits that are given to town employees and school departments.
You said that, yeah.
So another entity is IT. I know both of the IT guys, and I talked to both of them. The town manages the infrastructure for all IT, not just the town, but the school. So all of that infrastructure, there's ways that we need to start thinking differently. And there's ways that we can combine forces, that we can look at, okay, hey, we're going to have one admin for all the superintendents. And we're going to have to, look at how we can combine things, how we can look at the finances differently. And we need to, town meeting is supposed to, I'm continually told, town meeting holds the purse string. Town meeting approves the budget. I've been at town meeting for over 20 years. I have never seen town meeting approve a cut.
Because they lean left, very far left. If they came to the middle more, that would even be good. But you do know the unions did give up a lot of money a few years ago, and the town saved $10 million.
Yep.
That was big.
Yeah.
So I don't know, we're talking 10 years ago, what the town manager spent it on then. What was it spent on?
That's a great question. That's a great question.
Because it vanished.
Right. And that brings up another point. So town meeting approves the budget, approves articles twice a year. We meet, we approve all these articles, and it goes off. In between those 2 times a year, town meeting, except for the committee of precinct chairs, has no say, no, hey, where did that money go? Where did that $3 million go? Prime example is Stevens Field. Stevens Field, was it 8 years ago we approved the original?
It takes time, yeah.
And then we find out, well, the EPA said you couldn't move the tennis courts because the water was coming in, so you can't change the strata of that.
And the chair,
and then we find out that we need more money, and then we need this.
But wrestling, to be fair, the chair, and you were fair, because it was the EPA, it wasn't the town.
Right.
The previous chair of the CPC, not the one now, promised things to neighbors that could not be done. And the town had to honor that promise. It was very costly.
Oh, it was.
He should never have done that.
Yeah.
And that was Bill Cohane.
CPC created the Legislative Oversight Committee, and what that committee does, it's a subcommittee of the Committee of Precinct Chairs.
Didn't Kevin Lynch start that?
No.
No?
No. Committee of Precinct Chairs started it.
But I remember he was the first one that suggested that.
He suggested a bunch of different iterations of that. But
okay.
So we created this committee, the Legislative Oversight Committee, which goes and says, okay, we approved $3 million for the Symes House. Where's the project? Where's the money going? How come it wasn't spent? Where does that money go?
I'm so upset about that.
The admin found $3 million
yes.
from the past 10 years that was not spent.
That's huge.
$1 million of those dollars was from Memorial Hall to fix a lot of what we have this problem right now.
We've been screaming to fix Memorial Hall for, I would say 15 years.
So if you bring all of those things together and you also talk about free cash, now defining free cash is money we did not spend in a past budget.
And it has to be put into a fund.
It's over budgeting.
Yeah.
So we said X and it didn't come in at X, it's Y. $21 million in our free cash. So,
and Dickey wanted to use that to alleviate the budget.
Yep.
Which it could have been done.
Yep. Yep. That's things that we need to look at. And it's we talk about rainy day funds and gee, when it starts raining, it's pouring right now.
Oh, people don't know.
Town meeting has no appetite for that 2.5% override.
Good.
So if town meeting, and I don't want to speak for town meeting, but all the precinct chairs that I've spoken to have no appetite for that. If that doesn't pass, then we have to keep within the taxes that we can raise. That's that 2.5%. So that means that if it comes to the point where we have taxed as much as we can tax, we're going to have to cut. And it's going to be, we are. And it's I think that it's time that town meeting did what it's supposed to do. I challenge everybody listening to this to go to your town meeting representative, because we have a representative form of government that's supposed to represent you. Go to them and ask them about that 1% cut budget.
Ask them to do it.
Ask them to go to their caucuses and say, hey, I need to know more about this 1% cut budget. What is it? Why didn't we do it? And we need to hold it accountable. We need to go, it's the budgeting process starts with the town manager and the business director and goes through the select board and then goes through FinCom. And then at the very end of the process, after we've said this is the $344 million budget, at the end of that process, town meeting looks at it. It's already gone through all of the things.
And says yay and nay.
And says yay, never has said
Never.
nay. But if I don't have an economics degree, and I would say that I don't know anybody on town meeting floor who has an economics degree, we're given that book.
Just verbatim, and it's up to you to study it.
Right.
But that's why I'm trying to change the government, because we need a professional full-time government. Not saying there isn't room for people like you and others. There is room. There will be room. But it has to be full-time and accountable.
Right. The same people who are making the decisions on a daily basis need to be held accountable, because the decision that the select board is making, when the sewer broke, that was $90 million that they had to make a decision on, $90 million.
And make it fast.
And they had to make that fast. Where's the purse strings on that? Where's town meeting's input, who's supposed to be legislative branch, who takes on that, what that money goes to and how it goes? So if you have a form of government where you have daily decisions being made by one entity, and then when it comes to budgetary time, you give it to a nominated board, not paid, not, elected, and they go through it and then present it to the entity that makes that decision.
Who doesn't get paid.
Who doesn't get paid.
Is not accountable, because the Mass State Legislature said that town meeting members are not able to be held accountable. Right.
Right. And it's
other than not voting for them.
Right. Right. And it's I believe that in its surest form, town meeting is a great form of democracy.
In its purest form.
In its purest form. The Massachusetts state authorities say when you become a town of more than 38,000 people, you need to go to, I hate to use the word, but city form of government.
But you'll always be called a town.
Right.
Oh, gee, something just went through my head, and I'm listening to you, and
but that is it. And since you brought it up, the form of government, I think that right now our form of government is dysfunctional. Only because you look at the select board, there's infighting, there's mistrust.
And there's people that have their own agenda. There's groups and
right,
groups.
Exactly. So,
and they have a vote.
Right.
That's, people have their opinions and can be part of a group. But these people have a vote.
Right.
And it leads to the far left.
It does, but if you take the fact that I was listening at the last town meeting, and they were talking about putting in the bylaws that the town manager would create a government flow, how the structure of our government.
We have that.
And I was told that people literally got up and said, I don't trust town hall to create that.
I know.
With that mistrust, if you don't trust your governing authorities and you only have the legislative board meeting twice a year to make a decision on a $344 million budget. So you have one entity making these decisions that isn't trusted. They're making daily decisions which affect that budget and which affect the decision that this other entity is making. You have a disconnect.
Yes, yet I am supposed to trust a volunteer who doesn't understand the budget.
Right.
And this has been going on for years.
But you trust 9 individuals who were nominated to be on FinCom. I've had this argument with many FinCom members. I say, you're the most powerful group in Plymouth.
And they know nothing. There's very few that do.
Right.
I'm
encouraged to have Everett on there.
Everett, and then there's, what's his, not Steve, the guy with the beard.
Yep.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
And there's one more. Somebody pretends to care about the budget, but not really.
Right.
The rest of them are ultra-liberal. Even after the town manager asked to cut 1%, the finance committee wanted to spend more money.
$80,000. $800,000 for 4 employees.
Yeah, and I called them out on Facebook. How can you do this? You were just told there is no money.
And it's want and need, and I have constantly gone to FinCom and said, you are supposed to be the people budgeting. We had this thing called the Dude Report. It was a report on all our buildings, and it forecasted when buildings would need replacing, when roofs would need replacing, how things would go, when we would need a new school. And I'm like, when is the last time FinCom's looked at that, said, hey, we've got a new school coming up. We can't have 4 new employees. We can't have this because it's called budgeting. I have never seen anybody do a budget. Budgeting means this is how much we have. We can't spend this because next year we're going to need this. I never see forecasting. I never see, 5 years, 10 years down the road. We're looking at Cold Spring and Hedge. That's a major investment that we're going to have to make. When are we going to have to make that?
Oh, they want school down south, too. They want...
Yeah, exactly. And another fire station, I heard the other day.
But I'll tell you the 3 selectmen that voted against the 1% cut, and that was Canty, Iaquinto, and Cohane. David Golden and Dick Quintal voted in favor of it.
Yep.
Because they see the handwriting on the wall. If Dick Quintal could run down the street with his hair on fire, warning, like Paul Revere, he would do it.
The taxes are coming. The taxes are coming.
Yeah, the taxes, we're all at that cliff.
We're at that cliff.
We talk rhetoric, the cliff is coming. I'm telling you, you're standing on it.
Well, 3 years ago, I remember I was sitting in a COPC meeting with the finance director, and somebody said, how close are we to that 2.5%? And she said, not this year, but we really need to be concerned about it. That was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And every year since, it's like, we're just going to raise it this much. And it's people who say, when I spoke to a selectman and I said, you're using the tax levy, that's taxes. No, it's not taxes. It's taxes we could have done before, but we didn't. Imagine if we had. It's taxes. It's raising taxes.
John Mahoney used to say, why aren't we putting money away? Belinda used to say it.
Yeah.
Why aren't we putting money away?
Yeah.
And, it was just never done. I understand the reasoning, Melissa. She had her own agenda there. But the town manager that we have now tries his utmost.
Yep.
And this 3 members on that board really don't know what they're doing. I don't care that Canty came from the Finance Committee. There's a huge gap between the Finance Committee and being a select person.
Well, it's showing how somebody from the Finance Committee gets on the Select Board and wants to spend.
Spend.
Doesn't pay attention. You would think somebody from the Finance Committee would say, gee, this is what our finances is. This is what our taxes are. Gee, those don't collide. We're bringing in less than we're spending too much. You would think someone who is fiscally knowledgeable would say, we're in trouble. We need to do something. Because what I'm seeing is the Select Board asked for a 1% cut because they said, hey, we're in trouble. The town manager went about and said, okay, here's the 1% cut.
But if you remember at that meeting, it was Canty that said, well, I'm interested in other things as well, which was a setup for what came later.
Correct.
And he had it in his mind already. He was voting no.
Oh, and that's the whole thing. If you have your finance people, Lynn Barrett, the town manager saying, we're in trouble, and you ask for a 1% cut, what if we cut 1%? What would that look like? If you don't at least give that a chance, you're kicking the can down the road, and that can's done. That can is completely off that cliff. And if we're going the way it looks, if we're in so much trouble, I would think that the executive board would say, okay, we need to do something drastic. We need to start cutting. I'm sorry, we need to start cutting.
Wrestling, I want to thank you for everything you've done over the years, because I was with you in town meeting and other venues. We all did together. Your wife, my husband, you and I, and we've seen great change.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
For the worse. But I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, everything you do.
You too.
And you're welcome to come here anytime, Wrestling, and perhaps maybe after a town meeting we'll discuss it again.
Yeah.
I'm going to have the town manager here to discuss what happened. I'll also have you for that perspective, and we'll go from there. But I want to thank you, Wrestling.
Thank you, Karen. It's always a pleasure.
And next week on the program will be Selectman Dick Quintal, candidate for re-election, and candidate Betty Cavaco for Selectman. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.